Today, I'd like to share my thoughts around how you get some clarity before you take action in your business and why that really gives some of your decisions real momentum. So, it's really important to understand the difference between pausing because you're stuck in your activities and you don't know which decision to take, and pausing to actually get that clarity of how you're going to take the next meaningful step in your business. So, for example, before we can get into the clarity of what we're actually going to do next, we need to think about how do we clarify our values. I've talked about this before, but it's really, really important to understand what our values actually are. Because when we're clear and in alignment with our values, everything starts to flow in a very authentic way. I've spent some time working on my own values and what they mean to me. What are the kind of businesses that I want to work with? Because when I'm clear about that, I attract those kinds of business owners who align with my work and align with who I am. And that makes the whole process of winning clients so much easier because we're actually now not just doing a transaction of, hey, give me some money and I'm going to do a job for you. We're actually trying to work together in the same alignment of values, and our mission becomes unified. We get clarity in what we're actually trying to achieve together. In fact, I rarely talk about the money. I'm never thinking about the money when I'm putting an offer in front of someone. It's really that clarity around what is it I'm trying to achieve for my client. And that's where I'm really clear on who I am as a person and what my values are and how those values then translate to my business. So, what's the next thing that can happen in our businesses? Well, sometimes when we're surrounded by lots of activity happening around us, we can really get stuck in all the drama and overthinking. We start to take on the energy of those around us. And that's why it's really important to surround ourselves with those that actually bring something to the party. They actually make us feel good and supportive. There is a cliche that we are the product of the 5 most important people around us. And in a business sense, it's really important to find those people that are your cheerleaders, your mentors, your supporters, your coaches. Sometimes in a business sense, but it always overlaps into a personal sense. These are the people that have your back, or that you can share what's going on with your business and you can just get that listening ear. They don't add their own drama and their own advice as to what you should be doing or how you could be doing it. They're 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. Use in that ratio. And so I'm really clear on those people that I have around me that align with my energy. They are grounded, great listeners. They do not offer opinions. They give me a different perspective sometimes to give me that challenge and stretch as to how I could consider something in a different way. And that's when we move from giving advice, which can only ever be from our own perspective, to actually giving somebody support that then actually works for giving a different sense of perspective as to how something could possibly be done. And that's another little shift in language that I like to practice when I hear it from those that are around me. And that is that often we burden ourselves with what we should be doing. Normally because we've started to compare ourselves to what other people are doing. We see them doing certain things on their socials, or we see their activity and we think that we should be doing that. Should comes with a burden of expectation, perhaps even failure, that we've not actually done something in a certain way, according to somebody else's standards or somebody else's values. I like to change the word should into could. Could to me means a world of possibilities. I could do this, or I could do that. Now we've introduced choice with the word could, rather than compulsion with the word should. And that's such an important shift for me that's transformed the way I look at opportunities, challenges and risks in my business, because it makes me think about the possibility and whether it's going to be the right action for me. So it's a way of challenging yourself in a nice contained way as to what would be the best outcome for you. So it's really important not to take on other people's dramas, because, hey, we've got enough of our own going on most of the time anyway. And it's finding that way of how we're going to navigate those. Sometimes we can get stuck gathering information. Now, this is, some would think that they are going to gather lots of information and that's going to delay their decision making. It actually causes analysis paralysis, because while you're hiding behind gathering information, you're actually stopping yourself from taking a meaningful decision, because you're waiting for that perfect scenario when you've got every single bit of information. Now, the reality is none of us take a decision that we're going to regret afterwards. We don't knowingly make a decision and say, I know I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's just not how life works, or certainly shouldn't. So how do we get around this? Well, one way of doing this is to gather enough information that allows us to take a meaningful decision. So yes, we are risk aware. We are considering facts around us, and we are then going to take a decision with the information that we have in front of us. And that's why we know, when we've done this in a considered way, we don't need to live to regret something. Now, sometimes we take decisions that perhaps don't go our way. They're not necessarily the outcome that we were expecting. That's okay too. We don't need to beat ourselves up about that, because in life we have lessons, and we can win from our lessons, or we can learn from our lessons. Don't use the word lose, because every lesson has a learning in it. It's how we choose to frame it, and how we choose to look at that lesson, and how we then apply it to our business to make sure that we don't make those same mistakes or lessons, life lessons again in our business. So we learn and we grow, and every day is a learning day. So, the older I get, the more I realize how little I know. Every single day is a learning day. What can I take forward to make me a better person today than the one that I was yesterday? So I hope that's going to help you to actually get some momentum in your decision making, and go not just from clarity by being clear on who you are and what your core values are, how you're actually going to avoid other people's drama, how you're actually going to use data in a meaningful way and lead you to that path to actually creating some action in your business. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do like or subscribe to the channel.